Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, all right. So here we are. And really, there's probably not going to be any audience at all. So I'm figuring before we move on to like our normal business discussion that we have regularly, let's see if we can just kind of outline what we're going to talk about that's going to be pertinent to our followers. Right. So I've been putting some stuff up on social media. I wish I had more time to do that, but I'm talking about a lot of the adventure paths that have been out there. They kind of influenced things that I did in real world gaming all my life. I followed the different adventure paths, but I'm taking what I learned through that and putting it into what we're producing now.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about modernizing something that we grew up loving. Like we both grew up in roughly the same era of gaming, which is kind of just after the great satanic panic and all of the chaos that ensued in there, which nobody wanted to live through, particularly not in the States. And then for a long time, I think people don't necessarily realize that adventure paths were kind of everything that you did. Like you've got these little adventures, and they gave you anything between hey, here's half dozen things that are going to happen in order, to a gigantic sandbox that had virtually no explanation at all. And some of which, to be honest, some of the older classic modules didn't even make any sense. You had to make sense of them. But
and kind of that was the good thing about them, because really they're giving you a plot thread, but you really didn't have to follow that in a straight line. You could go off of that trail all over the place and just come back to certain points and do anything you wanted in between it. So it was like this quasi sandbox, but with a plot thread, like an antagonist, patrons, friends, and that was good. That was good doing that.
I mean, I think if I'm honest, anyone who's played a modern computer RPG actually knows what an adventure path is, because most of the major modern computer RPGs actually essentially are that. There's a main plot. There's lots of different side things you can go and do. The well-written ones have character arcs and story in them. Obviously, you don't have the same freedom that you get in an RPG. That's the magical thing about TTRPGs, is the freedom, the fact that you're making the decisions and people around you are making those decisions, and the guy behind the screen is figuring out what those decisions mean and how that works. And
it was never following a script either. It was a loose script, and it gave you a lot of improvisational latitude. You could do really what you wanted to. And, and that's really what we're trying to capture. Like, we're trying to, there's a lot of debate about railroading, right? So, we've talked about this a lot, and I'm not really going to get on to that now, but there's a misconception that if you're following an adventure path, that you're being railroaded. You're railroading your players. They have no agency. And that's just not true. It doesn't work that way if you DM it the way it should be DM'd,
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to sit here and prescribe how people should or shouldn't run their games. And I know that some groups, I know guys who stream their games, and their groups, they love structure, and they like to have it clear where they're going next, and to have it laid out for them. And they enjoy the breadcrumbs because they want to get to I'm not going to call them beer and pretzel groups, because there is depth to it, but they want to get to the next part of the plot. And have the exciting events that take place in it. But then you get groups like the ones that I run for on a regular basis who do just want to be able to do things and see what happens. And I don't think, and I'm not casting shade on Wizards or any of the other producers, because I don't do that. I don't feel like that's a cool thing to do. We're all in the same industry. We should get along and sing Kumbaya. Not that we have been lately. But realistically, I don't think that we see a lot of adventures, and big adventures, really the mega adventures now, don't leave us as much room for that as they used to, because there tends to be this massive explosion of exposition. This everything that's happened, and here's the land and its history and the people, and pouring into this huge epic thing of we've worked it all out for you, and that can be cool if you have the time to read everything and make a million notes. But sometimes I think what gets missed in that is the creativity, the relaxation that comes from, I know what this adventure is about. Like, I can tell you the theme of the adventure. I'm going to pick on actually Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh as a really good explanation of how this works. You get into Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, and for a start, the title tells you what the adventure's about. And this is not going to be an adventure about fairies and glowy. There's something dark, there's a tone, and that tone is in there. But there isn't the original module, the 30 whatever pages that it is. It doesn't have. So for anyone who's read the modern, the 5th edition conversion, which is great, by the way, I do recommend it, it's good. But you get a whole thing at the beginning of it that's like the Saltmarsh region and the town of Saltmarsh. None of that stuff was in the original adventure.
No,
none of it. It was just, here's the town, here's the map of the town, here's where the house is, here's some stuff that's going on.
So
and that's I think that's something that was fun because
and you know, I'm trying to recapture that kind of feeling, and you know, with what we're doing. So our new project, you know, that we're going to release very soon, it's going to be in July. We're going to launch it on a Kickstarter, and we'll talk about that a little more at another time. But really, this is going to be an adventure path in the real sense of it as we remember it from earlier modules, and even dungeon magazines with Savage Tide, Scales of War, and you know, so we're trying to capture that in what we're doing. But what that really does mean for us is that we have to break this an idea down into pieces, and those pieces are going to be like, you know, chapters or parts or modules contained within a bigger adventure. So the first part of what we're doing, first, the name of the entire arc is going to be called The Veils of the Shadow Court. So within the Veils of the Shadow Court, there's going to be parts, and part 1 that we're going to release very soon is going to be 3 adventures, and it will all be incorporated together, and it will take you from 1st to 3rd level. So it will amount to about 80, 90 or more pages, probably closer to 100. And we're breaking it down, and we're doing it so like the originals did. They kind of gave you a town, and you didn't know anything outside of that, and you just had the Saltmarsh to deal with, right? So we're not going to try to create a world that you have to digest before you can run the game. That's just not what we want to do. So that's kind of that's our outline, and that's what we have to keep in mind every time we do this. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the cool things about coming on a project like this is challenging for me, because I've gotten over the years more used to modern writing methodology and more used to modern production values. There is a habit of having a background document, and some of the background documents I've worked with over the years have been 20, 30,000 words of world and design and concept and theme. And those are great, and we have those. I'm not going to sit here and say we haven't got that stuff, but we've realized that that's not needed to enjoy the product. What we want is a product that if you've never played a tabletop RPG or run a campaign, if you've only played a couple of little one-offs and bits and pieces here and there, you can just pick up the first part, open it up, crack the spine, read the first few pages and be like, okay, this has already told me what's happening, what the point is, why why my players are going to be involved. And then from there, I can just go page by page, running and reading what's in front of me with little box outs. And we've gone to town on like little box outs and tips and ideas of, this is something you might want to think about here. And for older GMs, it might be that you end up ignoring some of that, but it's a powerful product because it lets us communicate the little tips
Yeah.
and tricks that you pick up in 30 plus years of
Right.
running these games day in, day out, and having run everything from the original T1 Hamlet of Homlet, which
Yeah.
was the most bare bones thing in the history of the universe. I mean, no one knew how any of it made sense.
There was nothing.
But you learned a lot doing that, and then you, like nowadays, like Curse of Strahd and all of the depth, and we've done it all, and we've done different things. All of the people we worked with have, but what's great is that we are the team has been all about lots of different perspectives. We've got younger people, we've got older people. It's not just we are two parts of a
Right.
team. We may be the two who happen to be the ones handing out instructions, but ultimately we've got artists and designers and writers involved who come from all over the world and all sorts of different backgrounds, and who have different perspectives on it. And what's great about this for me, I mean, because Fletch was kind enough to ask me to come on and kind of, I suppose, a design studio would call it like project management or control of the whole ethos of it. And what's been great for me is I'm getting thrown loads of different styles and takes, and yeah, we can unify the wording so it all kind of makes sense. But it's great because we have lots of different styles and feels in there.
Yeah.
But it's all presented in a way that you can just pick up and go, hey, I can run this. Because what I want, I know Fletch shares this, is I want anyone who picks up our products to open it up and to have that moment where you like watch someone running a tabletop game and you kind of look over it and you look at them and you talk to them and say, well, what's this, what's that? And by the end of it, I hear it all the time is, hey, I could do that. And it's like, yeah, you really could.
Yeah.
But it seems more intimidating until you're handed a thing that says, hey, this is all you need.
Yeah, and that's really what we want to always keep at the core, is that's what we have to do. And we put all the pieces together. And speaking of the pieces, we're really happy to be working with George from the Reclusive Cartographer. He's doing a lot of our cartography work. That'll be in all of our products that we, in this project. We're also working with Masiek from the Forge Studios for the line art work to give it that old school feel.
I mean, props. Some of the art that we've seen and the concept that we've gone through. I mean, it's amazing. It gives me those old school vibes that make me think, this feels like what I grew up playing.
Yeah, and we, what we will do on another one of these chats is let's talk about what old school means. Like that's thrown about all over the place, but what does it mean to us? And so like it's kind of faddish to say that, but at my heart, old school is the way I like to game. So we're trying to capture that in this product. So maybe we'll put a pin in this for now and just say this is our first live stream, see if this, gets any traction. And let's do the next one on maybe old school. And what does it mean to have an old school flavor in a product?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So now, can you see any of the scrolls of anybody saying something? I see something there, but I can't see because that is like, point.
It's a long way away. We've had a few people kind of joining. I'm just seeing if anyone's dropped any comments. We've got Steve saying hi. Hi, Steve. And we've got just various people who are floating in, some coming, some going, and that's kind of what we expect. Like, we are not sat here expecting to have hundreds and hundreds of people watching and commenting on this because no one knows who on earth we are or where we come from. But I guess this is a good point to say part of why we're doing this is we want there to be some transparency as a studio, as designers. We don't want you to not know who's done the design. You can go back, watch this later. It might end up on YouTube. There's all sorts of things that can be done with it, but you get to actually see us.
And really, this is what we are. Here's my office, right? It's in the basement, your little studio in my house, and it's I do my work in between the chores that I got to, and all the other things that are going on. So this is just two people who love the game, love the system, and want to contribute what we understand about it. So yeah, transparency is correct. It's to let everyone know what we're doing. Appreciated that everybody who got on here. I hope we didn't bore the crap out of you, because two guys who like to talk can bore the F right out of you. So I appreciate everybody getting on. We'll do this again. We're going to try to do it weekly or thereabouts, and right up into and through the Kickstarter, so we can talk about more details of what you're going to get. We're giving you print options, interactive PDFs and VTT conversions. So we're giving a lot of opportunities for people to engage with what our products will be. So let us pick up our actual business conversation when we figure out how to hang up this live stream, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. I will catch you back on Discord when we work out how not to be live on Instagram.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see what happens. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, folks.